Buongiorno! Italy. We are so beyond excited and thankful to be here. We arrived yesterday late afternoon, well, really around 1 p.m. So that was great. We were able to take the train from the airport to the city center, walk to our hotel, about a 5-minute walk. We're staying at Hotel Verona, and the main selling point of this hotel was just the proximity to the train station, because this is going to be our base for the next 3 days while we're in Italy, and then we're going to spend the majority of our trip in Switzerland. So we have a lot to do, a lot to explore. We were able to see a bit of Milan last evening, so I'll insert everything we got up to yesterday. Throughout our trip, most of our train tickets were purchased day of, but of course, if you are traveling in peak summertime, you may want to book things in advance. But I do have to thank Brandon for coordinating most of, or really all of our train travel. That's so helpful. He uses an app called Trainline to kind of see and visualize which routes we should take, and then he purchases the actual tickets on the corresponding websites. So hopefully that's helpful. But once we arrived in Milan, we settled into our hotel a little bit, got organized, and then walked over to the Galleria. The Galleria and the Duomo are right next to each other, so that makes it quite convenient to see two of the most coveted tourist destinations of the city at once. So we strolled over there, and then we grabbed dinner at the Cafe, Restaurant, and Pizza Galleria, which is located right in its namesake in the Galleria. So that was a nice setting, and thankfully we arrived early. It was an early dinner for us, and as we were leaving, there was a line out the door. So if you hope to dine here, definitely make a reservation or do the early bird special, because it was truly delicious, a great location, and a beautiful meal to start our trip. And today our plan is to do a day trip over to Lake Como. Varenna is about a 45-minute train ride, so hoping we'll be able to really enjoy the day. We're so grateful for beautiful, sunny, glorious spring weather, so thankful for that and excited to continue exploring this beautiful country. Before heading out to Lake Como, we enjoyed a breakfast at our hotel, which was included with the nightly rate. And then we leisurely strolled over to the train station, which we should have had some more pep in our step, because when we arrived, the train to Varenna, which is the section of Lake Como that we decided to visit, was completely full. So we had to wait an hour for the next train to arrive, which was a bummer, but you have to just go with the flow and, accept that sometimes that's how the cookie crumbles when you're traveling, especially when you're traveling a little last minute and laxy-daisy. So if I could give you a little piece of advice, definitely arrive to the train station earlier so you can kind of line up for those more popular train rides, like different Lake Como destinations. Once we did finally arrive to Varenna in Lake Como, we were instantly in awe of the beauty. It truly was so stunning. You strolled down from the train station just to this gorgeous, gorgeous lake with these mountains and beautiful buildings and boats ready to take you around and explore. It was absolutely lovely, and I really didn't conceptualize how vast Lake Como is. I was just imagining it much more of a cozier lake. Like I knew it was big, but wow, it just feels so vast, and there's so many different sections to explore. So I could definitely see this hopefully being a trip in our future where we truly take the time to explore all of the different villages and history of the lake itself and explore it by the waters. But we were very thankful to just be able to stroll around and take in a bit of it. And Varenna was a truly beautiful first impression of Lake Como. We grabbed ourselves an un cafe for some energy boost because we were still feeling the jet lag a bit. And then we continued to just explore and walk along the water. place for lunch and we landed on the La Combusta restaurant, which is right by the ferry that takes you to the Lagio. So that was lovely. We had to wait a little bit, but we ended up getting a table outside, which was great for some pizza, burrata, and another salad. So we just shared that. Ooh, and we also got a shaken iced espresso in this fancy schmancy glass and a tiramisu for a little sweet treat. After lunch, we strolled over to this little seating area, took in some more lake views, and then continued walking around, exploring. Something we love about Italy are the water fountains that they have sprinkled throughout, where you can fill up your water bottle and stay hydrated. Another thing we also love about Italy are the gorgeous and intricate churches. So we explored this one that was in the city center. Our sweet tooth yet again with some gelato. When you visit Italy, it's a rule. You must consume gelato at least once a day. We then took the train back to Milano and grabbed some paninis right by the train station once we arrived at All'Antico Vinaio, which we actually had last year in Florence, which was their first location, but they have expanded extensively. They even have locations in the States, so really great Italian street food and was perfect for just a quick meal that we could take back to the hotel and get ready for bed. Good morning, good morning. We have officially been humbled by jet lag. Last night was a bit of a doozy, but we're awake. It's almost 11 o'clock, but we're awake and we're ready for another day of adventure. Oh, did you hear our baby just burp? Oh my goodness, that's what's going on right now. But yesterday was beyond beautiful. Loved Lake Como. It was gorgeous. We were thinking as soon as we got off the train yesterday, we're like, should we come back here again tomorrow because it's so beautiful? And we thought about it, but I think we're gonna explore somewhere else today. Originally we were toying with the idea of going to Venice, but that feels way too ambitious. It's like a 2.5 hour train ride both ways, and that's not factoring in any potential delays or whatnot. And again, it's already 11 o'clock, so we didn't have it on our radar, but we're thinking of going to Verona. It seems like a very charming, beautiful place, and it's only about an hour and 10-minute train ride, so that feels more attainable. And by the way, we planned this trip basically a month ago and booked everything about a month ago, so we're very last minute, just like going with where the wind takes us, and we really did want to factor in just room for flexibility today or the first few days because of jet lag, and this is our first big trip with our 9-month-old baby. So thankfully he's doing amazing. It's just, figuring out sleep and just a whole different time zone is something new for all of us as a family of 3. So there we go. That's your little update. What was your favorite part of yesterday, Brandon? He's over here with our son. Here, you can come over. Hi. Wells liked trying the different Italian
lunch
food.
Was pretty great. That pizza was awesome.
Yeah, and sitting right there by the ferry and by the water, that was lovely. That was a beautiful experience.
Yeah, and just all of the scenery was awesome.
That was my favorite. The views.
Glad we went there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and in hindsight, I feel like staying there probably would have been more our speed overall.
Yeah, and make other trips tougher and getting to Switzerland tougher.
Yeah.
For where we're going.
Exactly. So. Milan has been a great base, and there is beautiful aspects of Milan. We're just not as city people. We love being by the water. and love being like more immersed in nature. So, you know, we're always gonna favor a beautiful lake with stunning parks and stuff. So that's what I think, but excited for another day. Now that we have a little cappuccino, we're ready to rock and roll.
Oh boy.
And our baby's on the move. Oh, and they're calling us to get out of our room. Okay, gotta go. Okay, we moved rooms. Like I said, we booked this trip a month ago, so the room that we stayed in last night wasn't available the whole time.
Well, we only thought we were going to stay here 2 nights, but then due to some complications with the train getting into Switzerland,
yes,
then we decided to stay in Milan another night. So I emailed them after I booked. I was like, can we extend the room? And they said no, but we have another room that's pretty similar. So we said, that works.
That works.
That was super easy.
Yeah, tell them what happened with the train when we were planning.
Oh, it was just, there was going to be train work on one of the, just part of the route that is the simplest and shortest route. Significantly shorter. We would have had to go way out of the way.
Yes, today. If we went to Switzerland today.
Well, they don't want to do that, obviously.
He didn't. No, we're going to explore Italy some more Italian food, right? Not a bad deal.
No, we're gonna.
We spent a lot of time at the Milan train station catching different trains, but it is so insanely beautiful. So every time we caught our next train, I was admiring the interior and just taken back by just the beauty of the architecture. And once we arrived in Verona, it was time for a sweet treat. You know, we just love to sprinkle in as many as possible. So we grabbed a pistachio cannoli, and I forget the exact name of this creamy puff pastry, but it was delightful. And then we walked over to the city center, which as soon as we got closer to the city center of Verona, we truly were taken back at how beautiful it was. And I just can't believe it wasn't on our radar before, because this city is so stunning. Right in the city center, they have this Roman amphitheater, which is actually older than the Colosseum, which that is understated. And of course, it is a bit more modest and humble because it's not quite as grand and ginormous as the Colosseum, but how neat to see such a piece of medieval architecture. We then grabbed some coffee, as we do. I love to enjoy pistachio flavored things when we're in Italy. I've noticed that pistachio and hazelnut flavors are much more prominent than they are in the States. So I grabbed a pistachio iced latte, and then Brandon grabbed a doppio, I believe. And then we continued to explore the city. We just sort of roamed around, and we actually walked over to Juliet's house, because something interesting about Verona, and really what has made it so famous, is that it's the setting of Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. So the city has designated this courtyard and area that's claimed to be Juliet's house and the inspiration for Romeo's Juliet. And this was a poppin' place. There was a line probably, I don't know, 500 feet away from the actual entrance of Juliet's house, and you buy your tickets ahead of time. So if that's important to you, definitely plan ahead. But we just enjoyed that little piece of history and admiring the adoring Shakespeare fans. We then continued to roam around and just take in the architecture and the views, and we were on the hunt for some lunch, and we landed at La Bottega della Gina, and I'm so glad we did. This was absolutely delectable. All of the pasta was fresh and homemade, and they had such a stunning variety. I love all the colors as well. And they have one option. It's actually all takeaway pasta, so there wasn't any indoor seating, but they did have some tables outside. But this worked out great because we grabbed our pasta and then walked over to the Parco, which is local park, and set up our little, we actually didn't have a blanket, but we just sprawled out in the grass, enjoyed our pasta. Our baby could kind of roll around and wiggle about, and it was just a lovely scenario. If you do end up at this restaurant, I highly recommend getting the mix option, where essentially they just give you a sampler of all the different pastas in one dish. After our park time and lunch, we walked over to Piazzale Castel San Pietro. It's a hill you hike up to, and you're able to get this gorgeous view of Verona, and the hike, we were pretty tired by this time of the day, but the hike wasn't too extensive, just quite a bit of steps, but you're distracted by all of the beauty surrounding you as you make your way up, and there's a few different stopping points where you can take in the view from different perspectives. There's also a funicular that can take you up to the terrace if you would prefer that method of transportation. After taking in the view, we made our way back down, and we were in the mood for some gelato, and we found this yummy place, La Ricetta del Gelato, and I grabbed a kiwi passion fruit cone. Absolutely delicious. And then before our train ride, we also grabbed some pizza from Impasti, and it was so delicious. It has sourdough crust and dough. It was divine. So that was great to enjoy on our train ride back to the city. Hello from the next day. We're already in Switzerland, just like that. We had a journey this morning to get here, but we made it. And before we get on with our next leg of the trip in Switzerland, which, wow, we're just staring out our window and it's unbelievable. So yeah, stay tuned for that vlog. But we wanted to recap our time in Italy. Verona yesterday was unreal. It was so beautiful. It's so wild that wasn't even on our radar, but then we went and we loved it.
Good call.
Yeah, I'm very thankful. Yeah. I said this yesterday, but dare I say again that I think I like Verona even more than Lake Como. That's how much we enjoyed it.
Verona was pretty amazing. So
would you say that too, or?
Yeah, it was more what you, at least what I think of when I think of Italy, or kind of Europe in general, just all of the rich history and beautiful buildings and just incredible architecture, and there's
lots to do.
Yeah. It reminded us both of Florence a lot. It was just super beautiful.
I believe they call it Little Florence. Some people call it Little Florence. So that was lovely, and I feel like we're starting to get more of a groove with the time change, getting more acclimated.
Wells did good.
Our baby.
He did well last night.
Yeah, he had a great night's rest.
Best one yet. So
yeah, we're figuring it out. Just really thankful to be here. Super excited to explore Switzerland. It's another beautiful day. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. And last year we went to Positano and Florence and Rome. So if you're interested in any of those Italian destinations, I'll link all of those travel vlogs. But excited to take you through Switzerland soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.
Ciao.